The Kentucky Derby Trail is starting to come into focus, and today we're updating the road so far. Hello, race fans, and welcome in. We're well into prep season, and it's time to recap how we got to this point. I've got a six-pack of major prep races to cover, and each one tells its own story. The sport is about more than figures and betting angles. It's about the storylines, the breakthroughs, the disappointments, and the pageantry that make up the road that is the Kentucky Derby. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the racing. Let's begin out west with the Robert B. Lewis Stakes at Santa Anita Park. Field of seven lined up for that two-turn 1 mile race featuring Intrepido, trained by Jeff Mullins. Then you had Bob Baffert training three of the seven runners, including Desert Gate, whom many considered his top contender. Desert Gate had not raced since finishing second to Intrepido in the American Pharoah back in October. But as always with Baffert, you have to respect the other Baffert horse, his unconventional colt, Plutarch, entered off a maiden win on the turf from last fall. Then you had Intrepido, who was very game in his return, but Plutarch ultimately proved the best, edging past late to get the victory right at the wire. Desert Gate wasn't up to the task as he faded and lost the show position to Secured Freedom. And Plutarch has taken a different path than a typical Baffert hopeful has. His turf races have taught him quite the strong closing kick, and then you always inject that Baffert speed into the mix, and you have yourself a really versatile horse. That was on full display here, and the performance likely puts him on course for the Santa Anita Derby coming up next. Now, Intrepido, I thought, was very solid in his 3-year-old debut, and he should move forward off of that effort. Now, Desert Gate maybe gets another chance as well, likely so. Perhaps a change of scenery to a different racetrack. So that was how the first race shaked out. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying the Kentucky Derby coverage, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We've got a long road ahead. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest, hit the notification bell. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, I really would appreciate hitting that like button on the video. Thank you so much. Let's go. Month of January brought us an epic snowstorm that affected over half the country from New York to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Both tracks had major prep races pushed back a week to February 6th. But run on January 31st that day, Florida didn't have any problems. The Holy Bull Stakes avoided the winter storms, remains one of the most anticipated early stops on the trail. This year's edition leaned more on recent maiden winners than proven stakes runners, but there was one in Incredible that was the winner of the Street Sense Stakes back in the fall at Churchill Downs. So when I say run-up assisted, I mean 165 feet of run before the race timer starts. Brad Cox's Cannoneer went straight to the lead, with Todd Pletcher's Nearly tracking closely off his flank. Nearly took over on the far turn and quickly put the race away, cruising to victory. However, the final quarter came in a pretty pedestrian 27 seconds, suggesting the pace dynamics played a major role in the outcome. While the rest of the field faces uncertainty about their next move, Nearly is most certainly staying in Florida for the next Gulfstream prep. Now, the Grade 3 Southwest Stakes at Oaklawn Park was next up with a $1 million purse, drew a field of 13 after Bob Baffert scratched the highly anticipated litmus test. The wildcard speedster Decode went off as the favorite in that race, and while stretching out to test his distance limits, he set the pace through some really honest early fractions, with Baffert's other runner Butane tracking closely behind. Now, as they rounded the far turn, distance took its toll on Decode. He still had the lead, but Steve Asmussen's older horse, Soldier and Diplomat, was beginning to make his move. He surged to the front, And decode weakened. Butane stayed on, continued to battle, but the biggest threat was still to come. Mark Cassie's silent tactic came flying from the back of the pack, sweeping past all of them to win, going away by 3 lengths. This colt has taken a major step forward since transitioning from the synthetic to the dirt. And that move looks like a key turning point in his development. So I'm sure we'll be seeing these players again when they run in the Arkansas Derby. Next up, meanwhile, in Gotham City, 7 horses made it to the gate for the Withers Stakes. The top 2 betting choices were both trained by Chad Brown, including favorite Schoolyard Superman. But he found his kryptonite in a horse named Talk to Me Jimmy. Jimmy powered right past the favorite to seize control and never looked back. He set an honest but controlled pace that turned into a race of stamina, and he was clearly up to the challenge. Turning for home, he began to draw away 3 lengths, four, then five, and finished up with an eye-opening 11-length margin. It looked like he was the only horse truly conditioned to handle that 9 furlong distance on the taxing aqueduct winter dirt. Jimmy will almost certainly move to the Gotham Stakes on February 28th, while the rest of the field may need to regroup, reassess where they fit on the trail. One horse I didn't mention was the other Chad Brown runner, Atano, a half brother to Gun Runner, likely because he was never really a factor in the race. He plodded home for third, so we'll see what happens with him moving forward. So the next day, Saturday, February 7th, brought our first Derby prep to Tampa Bay Downs. Emerging star named Renegade delivered a strong performance in the Sam F. Davis. Renegade was already familiar to fans after a pair of memorable showdowns with Paladin, and he entered the 9 horse field as the favorite. Now, other notables were Confessional, trained by Brad Cox and Dr. Kapoor, but the buzz horse was the Puma. He attracted significant wagering dollars in support following his runner-up finish behind Chief Wallaby in a very stellar performance there. The race unfolded with Renegade settling back off the pace while the Puma saved ground along the rail. As the long shots began to fade, Renegade launched a strong move around the far turn just as the Puma was ready to pounce as well. However, traffic issues forced the Puma to check up and regroup, allowing Renegade to seize control and drive to the victory. The Puma managed to re-rally for third, leaving the impression that the outcome could have been different with a cleaner trip. We should see these two hook up again, I'd say, in the Tampa Bay Derby March 7th, setting up a very compelling rematch. Now, fast forward to Valentine's Day over the weekend. Valentine's Day brought hugs and kisses to all at Fairgrounds as the Risen Star Stakes featured a quality field of 8, but none that hearts were more aflutter for than Paladin. The Chad Brown colt was the odds-on favorite, and rightfully so, having already proven himself around 9 furlongs in the Remsen Stakes. You also had Steve Asmussen's Chip Honcho, who was looking for an upset after his tough outside trip in the Lecomte. Then you had Golden Tempo, the impressive Lecomte winner, trained by Sherry DeVoe, was aiming to take the next step forward. The race quickly developed into a showdown between Chip Honcho and Paladin. Both broke cleanly, with Chip Honcho going straight to the lead. As expected, Paladin settling into his familiar stalking position. Chip cruised through an honest opening half in 47 and change, with Paladin moving into a more pressing role before the far turn. Then Golden Tempo dropped way back, more than 10 lengths off the pace. And as Paladin made his move around the turn to engage Chip Honcho, those two separated themselves from the field in a thrilling battle to the wire. Paladin surged forward late to secure the victory, while Golden Tempo did rally a little too late to finish best of the rest. I'd say the next step in the Fairgrounds series is the most demanding prep of all. It's a mile and 3/16 in the Louisiana Derby, where we may see these rivals meet again. And then, of course, there is the question of the $5 million elephant in the room, courting, kind of looking like an elephant lumbering down the stretch there. Bred to be a superstar, but still searching for answers, he delivered another lackluster performance, showing little response even with the blinkers on. So that's your 6 pack of races. Before I give you my current top 5 on the Derby Trail, it's important to mention a few names we haven't seen recently and litmus test first of all, scratched out of the Southwest, but I'm not really concerned with that. I think Baffert just decided to send him to the San Felipe. He's going to have 6 weeks. He raced on December 13th, so he's been training. He hasn't missed a beat. So 6 weeks of training, not that long a layoff. He'll be ready to go. Brant is the other one, more iffy from the Baffert barn. He just resumed training in the last 3 weeks. He's got four, I believe, works so far, but he's been off since October 31st at Del Mar on Future Stars Friday. So further ado is the other one, kind of in a similar boat, but he raced on November 29th. He just resumed training in the recent weeks as well. But when they finally show up, things could change in a hurry. But based on what I've seen so far on the track, here's how I rank the top five contenders right now. Coming in at number five, I'm going to give it to Nearly. I know many people are much higher on him, but the Holy Bull winner, who, in my opinion, benefited from the race dynamics and maybe slightly weaker field, still ran a fantastic race. Take nothing away from him, but I am going to reserve judgment on to see how Cannoneer and Bravaro do on their next outing to see if he can back that up. So also will Intrepido bounce back because he ran not so good. Now, number four, Silent Tactic, a colt who's taken, like I mentioned previously, major steps forward, back-to-back preps since switching surfaces, and now looks like a really serious player. So coming in at number three, Intrepido, proven grade one winner who ran a pretty strong 3-year-old debut and should move forward off of that effort, beaten by our number two horse, Plutarch, a different kind of Baffert runner who doesn't need the lead, continues to improve with each start. And finally, no real drum roll needed, please. Number one is Paladin, the Risen Star winner, showed the kind of stamina and finishing ability that translates directly to Churchill Downs. So that's your list. This list will change. It always does. But for now, that's where things stand on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Let me know in the comments who your top five are. Thanks for joining me today. Remember to subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and we'll see you soon.